Hi YouTube, Dozer here with episode 3 of Piloting Prism. Today we'll be going over the Bolton matchup, where we'll be discussing common cards to watch out for, sideboarding, and the general game plan against him as Tank Prism. Let's start with the common cards that Bolton has access to, that gives us the hardest time. Starting with Bolton himself. Bolton can be confusing to play against for those who are unfamiliar with how his ability works. Here's the rundown. If he is charged during that turn, by using his Light Warrior cards, any attack he uses, weapon or attack action card, Light, Warrior, or generic or otherwise, gains +1 damage if it's defended by an attack action. This combos with his second ability, which, as an attack reaction that costs 0 resources, lets him give any attack action card go again, by banishing 1 card from the soul if that attack action has more than its base power. And again, this works on any attack action card, such as a generic, a light card, warrior card, or a combination of any of the 3. This combination means that he can give most of his attacks go again with ease, unless you block with non-attack actions or defense reactions. Parable of Humility is very strong against Bolton because of this, though fitting 3 of that into our list is not really worth it in my experience. Keep in mind that if the Bolton passes on attack reactions, if you pass on defense reactions back, the attack will resolve, and the attacking card cannot be given go again by his ability at that point. So if he misses his chance to give it go again, don't let him get it for free. Let it go through, let him waste his turn, and go on from there. Raiden is the next card. Raiden is Bolton's signature weapon. It attacks for 0 normally, for free. However, if he's charged this turn, it gains 3 attack. This card is very powerful due to its ability to attack for 0 cost. The extra damage that this card threatens in combination with Bolton's already powerful attacks can make his offense overwhelming at times. However, if he's put on the back foot, it's very hard for him to use Raiden. Keep in mind that he can easily attack our Spectral Auras with Raiden, so be sure to account for that when playing them. The next card to watch out for is going to be Boltyn Blade. Boltyn Blade is a 7 attack card that's perfect for breaking our Phantasms. This card is often seen played in Bolton, and you should never assume that Bolton cannot break your Heralds. He might be running cards like Command and Conquer, but he might also be running Boltyn Blade. So even if you're running Herald of Triumph, he'll still be able to break it with this card. The next card to watch out for is going to be Beacon of Victory. This is easily one of Bolton's most powerful cards. As long as Bolton banishes 1 card from Soul, he can search any action card, attack or non-attack, from his deck that costs either equal to or less than the number of cards he banished from Soul. That means that by banishing the 1 minimum cards from his Soul to play this card, he's giving an attack action 1 attack, effectively enabling his ability to give it go again if he's charged that turn, and is going to be able to search any card in his deck, effectively. If he banishes 2 cards, that is even further a problem for you, because he'll be able to search Command and Conquer, for instance, if he wants to. He can search Lumina Ascension. He can search for any card that's an action card, light, generic, warrior, or otherwise. This card is extremely powerful and is the key reason that Bolton's consistency is as high as it is when people play the Twin Sabers combo build. One key interaction to keep in mind is that if you are running Blinding Beam or Parable of Humility, you have some counterplay to Beacon of Victory. If the Bolton player activates Beacon, the first thing they do is they have to play the card. Then they pay the pitch cost of 0, and then they must pay the additional cost to banish a card from Soul, at least 1. Normally, the Bolton player is only going to banish 1 card from Soul. And before they get to search their card, and before the card resolves, you, as the Prism player, can activate Blinding Beam or Parable of Humility before the attack gain is applied. This means that if the attack was not already buffed, you can reduce the card down to its base attack once the Beacon of Victory applies its attack. The -1 from Parable and the +1 from Beacon, which they paid for preemptively, are going to cancel out, and Bolton won't be able to use his attack reaction ability to give that attack go again, which will severely hamper his turn. If the Bolton player banishes 2 cards from Soul, Blinding Beam works on this situation. However, if the Bolton banishes 3 cards and you're not running more attack reduction effects, then he will be able to resolve this and give the card go again. Also, make sure that you don't forget that Bolton has a lot of ways to buff his attacks. whether or not you are defending with an attack action card, whether he uses Courageous Steelhand, a card that we're going to talk about soon. But this is a key way to disrupt that Beacon of Victory play and make him overcommit resources to an attack that he doesn't want to use, so keep it in mind. The next attack that in action that we'll talk about is Lumina Ascension. Lumina Ascension is Bolton's specialization that he is mainly known for because of its ability to combo with other things, such as the fact that until the end of the turn, weapons he controls gain +1 damage, and if the weapon hits, reveal a top card of his deck. If it's a light card, put it into his soul and heal 1. Otherwise, put it on the bottom of the deck. If you've charged this turn, you may attack an additional time with each weapon you control. This is a key card for Bolton because of his ability to throw out tons of damage on a turn while healing and stocking up cards in his soul. Every time he puts cards in his soul, he can continue to use his attack reaction to give his attacks a go again, which is the foundation for the Twin Centauri Sabers build. If Bolton pops Courage of Blade Hold, you know that pain is coming. If he double Lumina Ascensions you and has his 2 sabers, each of those sabers can attack 3 times, 1 per normal, and then 1 extra time per Lumina Ascension for each blade. That means with a 3 Lumina Ascension turn, the Centauri Twin Saber combo can attack you for 8 times. Assuming that you can prevent this with Arclight Sentinel, you can stop a lot of his damage. However, if the Bolton player is smart and using the Raiden build, they will normally be able to play 1 Lumina Ascension at a time and just get constant value out of them. This can make it very hard to defend against. And your best bet is going to be to simply try and withstand the onslaught of damage going into the mid-game. The next card we'll talk about is Via the Vanguard. Via the Vanguard is Bolton's other specialization, which lets him, as an additional cost to play it, charge his hero's soul any number of times. Normally they will choose 1. This will buff all of his attacks by the amount of cards charged that were light. Keep that in mind because if the Bolton player is unaware of this, they might be charging extra cards that they're not allowed to get the attack benefit from. So make sure you're keeping them honest and reading the card while you're in the game. The other thing to keep in mind is that Via the Vanguard applies to all attacks. That includes weapons and attack action cards. If Bolton plays Via the Vanguard and has a lot of cards in Soul, you know that he's going for a hyper-offensive turn where he's going to try and give everything go again and deal a lot of damage to you. Via the Vanguard combined with Lumina Ascension turns can be very brutal, so make sure that you keep that in mind and side in your Arclight Sentinels to deal with this combo. The next card that we'll talk about is Valiant Thrust. Valiant Thrust is an extremely efficient attack action card, which does 7 damage for 1 if he's charged this turn. That's the same stat profile as Workton Herald, except this doesn't have Phantasm. So make sure that if the Bolton has you on the back foot, that if he decides to search for Valiant Thrust with his Beacon of Victory, that you can survive the extra 7 damage, as that attack is searchable and very, very strong. The next cards we'll talk about are going to be very similar to each other. Bolt of Courage, Cross the Line, Engulfing Light, and Express Lightning all are light warrior attack actions that simply charge. And Engulfing Light goes to Soul if it hits, and Bolt of Courage draws a card if it hits. But the others are effectively just variants on the same effect, where they get to charge for the Bolton. This is his main way to get cards into Soul and to activate his hero ability. As long as you can prevent yourself from blocking these with attack actions, Bolton has to use his attack reactions to give extra damage to even give them go again in the first place, which is very resource intensive for him. So make sure you're not letting him get the free attack bonus or giving him the ability to get go again without committing more cards. The last unique card that Bolton has that we have to watch out for is Courageous Steelhand. For 0 cost, if he's charged this turn, any attack he's doing can gain 3 attack. That includes his weapons or his attack action cards. This is one of the key combat tricks that you'll have to watch out for, and is the main way that he's going to get around you blocking with your defense reactions. However, because we block with so many defense reactions, we can normally stop this pump from getting over our blocks and damaging our spectral shields. And now we'll talk about sideboarding. Effectively, against Bolton, we want our deck to look something like this. We will be taking out Celestial Cataclysm because it does not advance our game plan, and we want to be using all of our Spectral Shield soul charges on those shields and Prism's ability. Glisten is another card that we don't really want against Bolton because he'll have a lot of ways to get around our blocks, and so we won't really be able to keep one Spectral Shield alive for the entire game. So Glisten's not very reliable in this case. Iris of Reality is explicitly for Bravo, so don't run it against Bolton. Herald of Judgment is an attack action card, which is a weakness against Bolton, and doesn't have a relevant on-hit effect versus him, so we don't really need to run this card. Raging Onslaught's very similar, where it's not a relevant attack, and it's strictly a weakness against Bolton, so we don't run Raging Onslaught versus him. You may run Remembrance if you wish, however, this is a long game type of card, so make sure that you keep that in mind when you have it, that you're not having a blocker. But you can definitely consider running Remembrance against Bolton. And then don't run Null Rune Gloves, obviously, because it doesn't stop any of his damage. However, the rest of these cards are all good versus Bolton. That's all of the auras, all the defense reactions. You can run Phantasmaclasms, Eruditions, and your blue Heralds. Pursuit of Knowledge is also a great card, because combining Lunging Press with Pursuit of Knowledge and Erudition allows us to threaten the Bolton's armor, wear him down, and get around a lot of his defenses. They don't tend to run defense reactions, so this is normally a very advantageous play for us to use. Beyond that, we want to make sure that if you think you're going to be running into a lot of Bolton, you should probably fit some Parables of Humility into your deck list. I would recommend removing one Genesis and one copy of Yellow Prismatic Shield in order to achieve this. The rest of the cards in the deck are too important, and I would, if you want to fit those in because you think it's a problem, I would take those out. And now that we've determined our deck list, the general game plan is as follows. Try and set up a wall of Spectral Shields as normal, and keep them alive to ping the Bolton every turn. We have many defense reactions and non-attack actions, so being able to make the Bolton expend many resources to keep up his offensive pressure is exactly what we want. We want to be on the lookout for opportunities to set up a Lunging Press onto Herald of Erudition and Pursuit of Knowledge, which will likely force him to use his armor plus a card to block them. And by damaging his armor and getting the on-hit, we can make his future blocks more punishing as well as keeping up our own pressure by drawing. If you draw Phantasmaclasm versus Bolton, make sure you're getting rid of his combo pieces. Sometimes it's worth getting rid of Lumina or via the Vanguard, even if he can pop your Phantasmaclasm with Bolting Blade. You normally will not have the time to set up the Prism Exodia combo, which can be found in this deck tech. So make sure that you are saving your tomes for turns with Soul Shield or Merciful Retribution popping. This can ensure that you keep enough resources to keep pace with the Bolton while maintaining your defense. Basically, if you can play your tome by pitching one blue, do it. There's no point to hold on to the card in the Bolton matchup. That seems to do it for now. If you have any specific questions for how to play out the Bolton matchup, please refer to the gameplay videos linked in the description or leave a comment. Thanks for watching as always. Next time we'll be discussing the Chain matchup. So make sure you subscribe for more Flesh and Blood content, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.